Winning the Game of Life. I'm your host, Shawn Chhabra. Today I have a very special guest with us. His name is Wes Schaeffer. Wes is the sales whisperer, a ruthlessly pragmatic entrepreneur, sales trainer, copywriter, and speaker who believes marketing is just selling in print. He is the best-selling author of It Takes More Than a Big Smile, a Good Idea, and a Twitter account to build a business that lasts. His another bestseller is The Definitive Guide to Infusionsoft. Welcome to the show, Wes.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, how about we just start with your elevator pitch so that my listeners know what exactly you do?
You know, I always tell people not to have an elevator pitch. I always say have an elevator question.
Wow.
So you can engage the person on that elevator. But I mean, in a nutshell, I help people sell more faster at higher margin with less stress and more fun by automating more of their sales and marketing. I always say if you do something 2 or 3 times a day or 4 or 5 times a week, figure out a way to automate it. Figure out a process, create a system around that to streamline it, to accelerate your path to success, to sales, so you can focus on the bigger things. So that's what I do.
Wonderful, wonderful. So somewhere I was reading like you was in the Air Force and how you ended up at like a sales trainer, and I was also reading like you are a motivational speaker. Would you like to just tell us a little bit about that background?
Well, in the 90s, the 80s and 90s, there was this top secret program in the Air Force to train salespeople. Nah. I was in the Air Force, and I just wanted to be paid according to the results that I created, not based on time and grade. So after my service, I just went straight into commission sales, and that was 1997 when I got out, and been doing it ever since. And as I learned, what I learned being in business, being an employee, is that your success is still your own fault. You have to go make it happen. Your company's not going to give you enough leads. They're not going to give you enough training. You have to make things happen on your own. So I was always learning. I was listening to books and CDs and motivational stuff, and reading books, attending conferences, buying my own programs just to get better. And I bought a program for sales training from a guy. We got along great, hit it off. I ended up becoming a licensee of his first one, to kind of lay the groundwork, build the foundation of my sales training business. And then along the way, speaking is important. And if you can get on stage in front of an audience, they look to you as the professional, as the expert. And so speaking is just a great way, to impact more lives, but it's also a great way to grow your business. And then when you grow your business, you can impact more lives. So it's very much circular, right? And so in the strictest sense of the word, I wouldn't say I'm a motivational speaker. I like my intro, ruthlessly pragmatic. I really get down to brass tacks, right? Rubber meets the road, ideas, things that you can do. And I think when you're confident in your actions and you're taking the right steps down the right path, you become motivated, right? So it's a little bit of semantics in a way, but I'm a big believer in do and then become and then you'll have. And it's so ironic, Zig Ziglar was one of my early, virtual mentors, and he always talked about be, do, have. But I think when you take the actions of a professional, whatever it is, let's say golf, for instance, and you have your favorite golfer, Ricky Fowler or Rory McIlroy, and you go do what they do. Obviously, you won't have the exact same results in the beginning, but if you keep doing what they do, you will eventually become that great golfer, and then you will have what they have, trophies and awards and sponsorships and millions of dollars. So I'm all about helping people take that first step and then continue taking the next step. 'Cause that's the hardest thing. Most people fail because they don't start. And I'm very good at helping people start. I'm very good at pulling the trigger and riding the bullet, like we say, right? So if that's a motivational speaker, then okay, then that's me.
Okay, very, very well defined. Actually, you are already motivating me to take this to the next level. So tell us about, like, I see you are a copywriter.
Mm-hmm.
So how you became a copywriter? Like, what for average Joe, what is copywriting actually?
Well, copywriting means putting words on paper to make a sale. It could be part of in marketing, but still, marketing I always say is just selling in print. But it's selling by the written word. Okay, so it's not a technical writer or whatever. I'm not a novelist. I put words on paper to make sales. And so that could be an email series. It could be a free report. It could be writing a script that you turn into a video or a webinar, something like that. But, when you say you're a copywriter, it means, you're writing to make money as a result of that writing.
Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at your short bio, like you got some books. So would you like to talk about that a little bit so that my listeners can get motivated from those books also?
Well, the first one I wrote was a beast, the definitive guide to Infusionsoft. Now it's 665 pages. And it's a guide on how to use that software, Infusionsoft. And I got involved with them back in 2008. And I bought the software for my own business so I could automate my own sales and marketing, like I was talking about. If you do something 2 or 3 times a day, 4 or 5 times a week, figure out how to automate it. And I had so much success with the software, I started selling it. And then because I know sales, I was good at selling it. And there was never a book written on it. So I'd never written a book, and it turns into this big beast, but I got started, and I pre-sold it at a discount with a bunch of bonuses, which was important because it showed people that people wanted it, but it was also became a pride thing because it was my first time. I made some mistakes and we had some technical issues, and the release date got pushed back. Because I did not want to refund those people, and it wasn't very many. So it wasn't a money thing, it was a pride thing. I'm like, I'm going to finish this book. And I got it out the door.
Wow.
But I self-published it, so I was always able to edit it and fix it and update it. We're updating that thing 3 to 5 times a year, no problem. And because it is software and they come out with releases. But the core doesn't change. The updates are about minor features. So if you prefer to read and learn in a book instead of just online, and a lot of people do, there's a ton of videos and content online that'll teach you everything you need to know. But some people just like it in front of them. They can draw on it, make notes, and so that's who it's for. And my second book was more around just sales and marketing in general, around my philosophies, my beliefs, my approach to selling and marketing. And so that's why I wrote the second one. And, the same thing with speaking. When you write, you are seen in a different light, right? And you're treated as more of an expert, more of a professional, because you wrote a book. And it's not as hard as you think. Actually, my second book was really a compilation of my weekly whispers. So it's a weekly newsletter I send out. And I pulled out 79 of those, over the span of many, many years, and compiled it into a book. So in the process, I ended up updating a lot of those posts, so it kind of freshened it up. But still, the core of it was done. Writing nowadays really is a lot easier than people think. But again, you have to start. Start with a title, follow that up with an outline. Once you have the outline, come up with sub-chapters, subheadings under your main outline, and before you know it. So like my book, that second one, it takes more than the big smile, a good idea, and a Twitter account to build a business that lasts. It's 79 stories. So each one of them is on average just 2 pages. A handful are 1 page, some are 3 or 4 pages. But, anybody could write 2 to 5 pages in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Right? And so if you break that up into chunks, 70 or 80 or even 100, and now each one is 2 to 3 pages, you'll quickly have a 200 to 300 page book, okay, written in 15-minute increments. And so but you got to pick a title, create your headings, your chapters and your subchapters, and once you break that apart, the rest will come quite easily.
Yeah, everything, as you said, it start with the first step. Once you take first step and then pick the other feet, it's in the air. So you are going to move forward, and eventually, like a book, start with 1 page, 1 word. So what I can understand, like writing these books and speaking gigs have given you a lot more credibility than anyone can have otherwise. So that's a lesson, at least for the listeners who are maybe thinking to do something like that, thinking to write a book or not write a book, or to them it looked like a big project. They think they have to quit everything and hide behind the desk and just spend their life writing the book, so they can get motivated to just write a couple of pages a day or even a couple of pages a week, and eventually they can finish and become more credible. So, you are in business for a long time. What do you think, with all the technology changing so fast, so many apps coming out, and everything becoming like smartphone based, what do you recommend to the people who are maybe 10 or 20 years younger than you and me, in that age, to start about the new business? Where should they start? What do you think?
Well, business is all about finding a need and filling it. Okay? And there's 2 adages. One is do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. And the other is find a need and fill it. Okay? And there's plenty of success stories on both. But, I love drinking whiskey and smoking cigars. I haven't quite figured out how to make a living doing that. I love watching college football on Saturday mornings. I haven't. Now, obviously, there's guys on ESPN making money being an announcer for college football. So, obviously, there's a way. But that path may be harder. By the time I figured that out, I was married with kids, and, I couldn't follow that path, and it just wasn't big enough of a passion. But you get my point.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of stories. I mean, a big example would be like Warren Buffett. I mean, he doesn't buy stocks. He goes and buys the entire company. Okay? And you can see how varied his holdings are. I mean, look at Sir Richard Branson, right? He has airlines, he has music, he has you name it. And basically none of them have anything to do with each other. They find a need and they fill it. Look at Shark Tank. I mean, they'll buy businesses, they'll buy a food type business, desserts and bakery, and then they'll turn around and they'll buy a bicycle manufacturer, then they'll turn around and buy a thing that helps water plants, because business is business. Okay, Marcus Lemonis on The Profit on CNBC, he talks about people, products, and processes, and it really is universal. So with the internet now, I have virtual assistants in the Philippines. I've got a guy helping me with my book. Actually, we're editing the Infusionsoft book. He's in India. I had a guy who created the digital version, the ebook version of my second book. He's in Romania. So you can find more talent, more affordable, good talent online than ever before. But most people don't know how to do that. So again, if you can find a need, you can fill it, right? But you have to be willing to say yes. When somebody comes to you and says, hey, I have this programming issue with my website or with this software, can you help? for the right amount of money, yes, you can help and you can solve it. Okay, so you have to ask the question, hey, Mr. Prospect, that sounds kind of like a big ordeal. Is it a big deal? Yes, it is. How big of a deal? It's costing me $10,000 a month. How long has this been an issue? It's been an issue for 6 months. Oh my gosh, how much is that? Right? Make them say it. Even though you know it's $60,000, make them say, fool, that's $60,000. Do you have a way to fix it? No, I don't. So what's going to happen if you don't fix it? If I don't fix this in the next 3 months, I could get fired, or we may have to lay people off, or blah, blah, blah. Say, okay. So you have an issue that's cost you 60 grand already. You know it's going to cost you at least 30 grand before heads will start to roll. So if for 15 grand, I could develop some code or create a solution to make that go away, would you be willing to invest that kind of money? Yes, I would. Okay, great. I'll be back, in a day, 2 days, 3 days, with an answer. So now you know that you have $15,000 to spend if you can find the answer. So now you can start researching, going online, asking your friends and family, going to Elance, going to Odesk, going, now it's called Upwork or whatever, asking around, hey, somebody's got an issue. But the key is asking the right questions and defining the problem. Okay? You can't just go out and say, hey, I got somebody with a website issue. Great, we all have website issues. What is really the issue? Is it an e-commerce and it has to be mobile responsive and it has to have, a dynamic shopping cart and it's got to track inventory and it needs something with coupon codes and it's got to be able to track lead sources and blah, blah, blah. Okay, if you can really define it, then you can go out and somebody will say, you know what? I can code that for $5,000 to $6,000. Okay, maybe they say $10,000. Okay, so now you go back to the guy and you say, we can do it. I need half down. So you get $7,500 down from that person, right? And you tell the developer, I'll pay you half. Right? So you pay them $5 grand. So now you just made $2,500 just by finding the person. All right, now they go code it, they develop it, you deliver the final product. The client pays you the remaining $7,500. You pay them the remaining $5,000, and you just made $5 grand by being a broker. And people don't realize Bill Gates, with Microsoft, Bill Gates was a smart dude and he could code, but he didn't create DOS. He brokered that deal. He found the developer of DOS and IBM needed it. So he said, hey, how much is this worth you? And they're like, $50,000. So he goes over here, how much will you sell me your software? And I don't know the numbers, but it's like $25,000. Okay. Hey, I found it for I found it. It'll cost you 50 grand. Okay, here's 50. He goes, here's 25. He made 25. Then he bought the rights, blah, blah, blah. He was just a broker, right? He found a need and he filled it. Now, he found the need in his expertise, which was computers and programming and development, yada, yada. So, of course, that helps to speed things up. But again, at the end of the day, if you're a student of human nature, right, does somebody have an issue with their dog? Dog training. There's companies that do nothing but go scoop up poop, right?
Yeah.
So you don't have to be too technical to schedule some people to drive around and pick up dog poop. Okay? So if there's a need, hey, you can solve it. Now, is that really exciting? I don't know. Probably not. But it's a need. Is making money exciting? Yeah, I think so. So could you jump in, develop it, set a team, then put a manager in place, and then go do the next one? Yeah. So, I mean, that's the two ways to make money.
Yeah, there are so many ways, but I still I still unable to figure out, most of the population is not even thinking to get up and do something. They are either just looking for a job, or even on their job they are just trying to kill the time. They are just trying to be barely minimum productive, whatever is just needed, whatever will just not get them fired. They are at that, right?
Yeah. So, but think about the employer that has those types of people. So maybe you can go find a way to get better people. Okay. I'm talking with a guy right now. They're a client. We had our first training call this morning, and they do nothing but help technical type companies find good people. Okay, so you're sitting on top of a problem and you didn't even realize it. So maybe your opportunity is becoming a technical recruiter of some sort to help companies get good people that don't just sit around collecting a paycheck.
Actually, on this podcast show, about 8 hours before our interview right now, I interviewed somebody else, and he is making millions of dollars right here. He's a young kid, and he's just helping other people develop the apps, and he's just connecting the programmers to them. So he just dropped out from the school. He wasn't just going for medical college, but he just quit. He was going for medical school. He just quit and started this small company, and he's just doing that. So there is an opportunity, but I guess people have to really focus and look for that. So if somebody is really looking for that and trying to get into business, there's a lot of opportunities all the time. People have to look, people have to focus, people have to take the first step and identify the problem and solve the problem. I think that's what I got from you. So we are unfortunately close to the end of the show. Is there anything last minute before we say bye to the listeners?
We're going to keep going. Keep going.
Good. How about we extend for another 5 minutes? How about that?
This will be like the Jerry Lewis telethon.
Yeah.
We're going for 72 hours.
Oh, I thought 72 days, and then we convert that into a book.
There you go. Yeah. So what were you saying? Some parting words of wisdom?
Yeah, something like you are a motivational speaker. So I want to hear that from myself, actually.
I told you I'm not motivational.
Oh, you are. You don't know.
You get motivated.
You don't know you're motivational. You just don't admit that. Okay, come on. I'm waiting.
Yeah, it's, I always tell people, you got to remember, nothing happens until a sale is made. Right? You have to embrace sales and marketing. You have to understand that marketing is just selling in print. You have to, the old adage is enter the conversation going on in the mind of the prospect. It's called empathy. Great salespeople have empathy. We can put ourselves in their place, right? We can walk a mile in their shoes. We can know what they're thinking and feeling. Did you ever see that movie with Mel Gibson? Where he was the marketing guy? It's like What a Woman Wants or something. I'm drawing a blank on the name, but he started working in this new firm, and they were selling women's products, like lipstick and pantyhose and stuff. And he was in the bathroom wearing it, right? He was putting on pantyhose and doing his face and painting his toenail. That's when he fell and had the accident, and the curling iron or something fell in the tub. So he was trying to get in their mind, get in their heads. And that's what we have to do. So answer the conversation going on in the mind or enter the conversation going on in the mind of the prospect. So if you can do that, then you're well on your way to getting their attention, letting them know that you know what the issue is. And when they know that you know them, they'll give you their money. Okay, so you have to embrace marketing. You have to embrace sales. You have to become a student of human nature. You have to realize that marketing is your number one job as a business owner, okay? And the number one purpose of marketing is to build a qualified segmented list, okay? Because once you have this big relevant or targeted segmented list, you can send relevant information at the moment of relevance because you're entering the conversation and the sale becomes easy.
Very, very, very wise, very wise. So, how our listeners can connect with you?
Very easily. I'm all over the web at thesaleswhisperer.com. So if you do a search in that website, if you just do a search for Sales Whisperer, you can find me on Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, you name it, Instagram. So whatever your favorite portal is, I'm probably there. But thesaleswhisperer.com is where you can find everything.
Anyway, we are going to put all your links on the podcast page.
Cool.
And I would like to thank for coming, and hopefully you will agree to come to help our listeners in future once more.
What's that?
I would like to invite you one more time later someday.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Let me know.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
LaptopUniverse.com CEO Indu Chhabra announced the launch of BuybackQueen.com. This newly launched reverse e-commerce website buys back used old electronics, old iPhones, iPads, and all other smart devices directly from the consumers. You should not throw your old phone away because your trash may be hitting gold. Buyback Queen wants your old device and will pay top dollars for it. The process is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Fast payment, free shipping, free data wipe, risk-free transaction. Let us make the world a cleaner place and make money by selling our device on buybackqueen.com.